Hi, everybody. This month, the topic is going to be about the model. Now, the model is a tool that we use to help bring awareness around our thinking, and our thoughts are what create the results in our lives. So, it's important to know what's going on in there. First, I want to teach you about the thought download. Basically, what this is you grab a piece of paper and you write everything that's in your mind at that time. Just get it all out on a piece of paper. Now, if you're struggling with, what's going on in there and you can't fill up the piece of paper, consider, writing a story about a situation. So, you can write a story about growing up being fatherless. You can write a story about how you feel about it now. You can write a story about a struggle that you're having, like an effect that we have. I know a lot of us struggle with not feeling good enough or trust in relationships with men or searching for acceptance. Pick a topic, write a story about it on a piece of paper. Okay. The next part is let me explain to you the model. So let me see if I can move without killing myself. Okay. So the model is CTFAR. Now, the C is for the circumstances in our lives, the situations. These are the facts of our story. Okay, we have to make sure they're very factual. T is for thoughts. They're the one sentence in our mind. F is for the feeling that we have. These are vibrations in our body, and we describe them with one word. A is for actions or inactions. These are the things that we do or don't do. And R is for the results that are created in our lives. Now, the circumstances, they have to be facts. They have to be proven in a court of law. Everyone would agree on them. Examples of this would be, I'm 45 years old. I can show you my driver's license and prove that. Um, my parents divorced when I was 3 months old. I'm sure there's some kind of a record somewhere that I could prove that in a court of law. I have a father. He may not have been around, but he had to be there in order for me to be alive. I'm alive. I'm proof I have a father. Let's see. When I was 15 years old, he called me and said blank. That can go in the C line. What someone says, exactly what they say. So when he called me when I was 15, I could put in the C line, father said he was in Saudi Arabia. Okay, that's a fact. I can prove it. Um, that can go in the C line. Um, Another fact would be like my mom received child support when I was 13 years old. I'm sure I could find records of some of that somewhere and be able to prove it in a court of law. Everyone would agree because of the proof I provided. Now, be careful because a lot of times we think our thoughts are facts and they're not. So, a couple of examples of this. So, these are things that aren't factual. Um, if I say my father is selfish, okay, I may believe it. My best friend may agree with me, but I can't prove that in a court of law. There's probably someone out there in the world who thinks he is very generous and not selfish. So, not everyone would agree. So, that is not a fact. My father was a terrible person. I might think that. My mom might think that. But there's someone out there that knows my father who thinks he's amazing. So, not everyone would agree. It's not a fact. If you have a thought that I am worthless, okay, some people think that that's true and that's a fact, and it's not because there's your best friend could think that you're amazing, right? And you're completely worthy of everything. So, that's not factual, can't be proven. Not everyone would agree. You may think I'm not good with relationships. Okay, that's subjective, so it's not a fact. You may have a friend that thinks you're great at relationships. And then you may go a step further and say, I'm not good at relationships with men. Well, that can't be proven. That's not a fact. You may have a boyfriend from fifth grade who thought you were awesome and great with relationships. So, that's subjective. That can't go in the C line. It can go in the T line as a thought, but it's not a fact. Let's see. So thoughts are thoughts are one sentence in your mind, okay? And it can't be a question. It can only be a stated thought. So you may want to put here a question like, why is my life so hard? Answer the question. So maybe you're thinking, oh, my life is so hard. Why are you thinking that? So go a step further. It could be, I don't have enough time to get everything done. So that is actually your thought. Okay. Questions don't go in the thought line. Now, the feelings, like I said, are one word. It could be happy, sad. There's a lot of basic feelings that people use regularly, but the better your model will be if you can be more specific to what the feeling is. So instead of just saying anger, it could be, aggressive or frustrated. Instead of, sad, it could be, a feeling of abandoned or um, vulnerable. Instead of happy, try to go farther and maybe is it acceptance? Is it, joy? Is it, something else? But the more you do this work and really get to know your feelings and what you're feeling, you'll be able to expand that vocabulary to describe what it really is that you're feeling. That's practice too. The actions are what you do and don't do. Okay. And these can be actions that you do in your mind. So if you're, ruminating over something, you're thinking about it over and over again and how it played out and everything. And so it's like you're reliving a story or a situation. That can be an action. And, thinking about the what ifs, you know, those can be a thought, but they can also be an action that you're doing. So like a daydream. If you're thinking about, having a daydream about how your life could have been, how things could be different if this had happened or if you hadn't made this decision, so that would be actions in the A line. The results are what you have created. So normally they're a reflection of your thought. So hopefully this all makes sense. Now, after you do the thought download on the piece of paper, right, you wrote the story, I want you to go in and highlight all of the facts. Now, remember, facts have to be proven in a court of law, and everyone would agree. Highlight all of, highlight all of the facts of your story, and then you can start practicing doing models. So let's see. I started one here. Okay, so what we call it an unintentional model and an intentional model. So the unintentional model is normally, what we automatically think. It's like an unconscious thinking, something that just pops in our mind and then we have a reaction to it. Whereas an intentional model is thinking thoughts on purpose to create the result that we want. So let's do this model real quick. So the circumstance is I never met my father. Now that can be proven and everyone would agree. So when I think about that circumstance that I never met my father, I have a thought that, I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me. So I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me. Okay. And when I think this thought, I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me, I kind of have the feeling of shame. And when I'm feeling shame and thinking the thought, I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me, it creates the actions of, I assume people don't like me. I tend to judge myself. and I put a lot of pressure on myself. Hopefully you guys can read this. Oh, it's kind of small. I'm sorry. And the result is from this, I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me. You know, I'm feeling the shame. I'm assuming people don't like me. I'm judging myself and I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. The result is I don't love myself. Because these actions are creating this. So, assuming people don't like me, you know, thinking the thought I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me, putting all this pressure and judging myself, I don't love myself. And it's from the thought I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me. So, this is not a good feeling. It generates a negative result that I don't want in my life, right? So, this is the unintentional model. The intentional model is creating the awareness of what I was thinking and the result that I'm getting from it. So, what I want to do is find a different thought that creates a different result. So, here I'm going to start, and you can start anywhere. You can start the C line, the T line, F, A, or R. So, I'm going to start in the T line, okay, because I want to think a new thought. So, the thought I want to think is what else could it be, right? Why else could he have not? Why else could I have never met my father? What I've come up with after doing a lot of work on myself is that his decisions had nothing to do with me. Is that bigger? It's a little bigger. Okay. And when I think the thought, his decisions had nothing to do with me, it actually makes me feel relieved. Now, you're going to realize soon that I'm not good at spelling, so don't judge me. And when I'm feeling relief by this thought, his decisions had nothing to do with me. You know, what I want to create is a better result than this, right? So the actions that I'm going to take are I'm going to self-coach myself, which is basically using this model, you know, becoming aware of my thinking. I'm going to remind myself of this thought. And I'm going to come up with a bunch of answers why I am lovable. So, evidence that I am lovable. And when I'm having this thought, his decisions had nothing to do with me, creates a feeling of relief. I take these actions, self-coach, remind myself that that's a thought, and look for evidence that I am lovable and really think about all of the ways that I am. I get to decide who I am and who I want to be. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So my result is I get to decide who I am and who I want to be. This comes from the thought that his decisions had nothing to do with me. Okay. Now let's take a look at this. Same circumstance. Never had a father or never met my father. So I could think the thought I wasn't lovable enough for him to want me, which is a terrible thought, creates a terrible result. Or I can think the thought his decisions had nothing to do with me, which is a much better thought and creates a much better result. I get to decide who I am and who I want to be. Now, I could feel shame here, or I could feel relief here. Which is better? Okay. You're going to have to run a couple of these. You're not going to get it right away. Okay. So just keep practicing because you'll get better and better at it. I'll go ahead and run another one with you. Let's see. Oh, sorry, guys. All right, so let's do this one. I'll try to write bigger too. You see where this ends. I want to make sure you guys can see it. Okay, so C T F A R. C T F A R. Okay. So this circumstance, let's say there's a social event on Friday night. You can prove it because you have an invitation. Maybe it's pre-COVID and it was like a Facebook event that you got invited to. So it's going to be the same over here, right? Is that bigger? Okay. So you're thinking about this social event on Friday night, right? You're driving up to it. You're there. You're walking in the door. Now, being a fatherless daughter, a lot of times, quite a few of my clients always feel like they're being rejected. So I'm going to have the thought, I'm always being rejected. I'm trying to write bigger. Okay. And when I'm having the thought, I'm always being rejected, I'm a little hesitant, right? And when I'm being hesitant and having the thought I'm always being rejected, the actions I'm going to have at the party is I'm going to search for evidence that I'm being rejected, right? I'm not going to, show up as myself. I'm not going to show up as myself because I'm worried. I'm looking for reasons why. I'm not enjoying the party. And, I'm questioning relationships with people, because I'm looking for ways that they're rejecting me. Can I drop that down? I think I can. Questioning relationships. Here we go. Okay. So my result is, I'm rejecting others and creating rejection for myself ahead of time, right? Okay, you might not be able to read oh, good, you can. Okay, so you go into the party with the thought, I'm always being rejected. Okay, and you're feeling hesitant, which makes you not show up as yourself. You're searching for evidence that people are rejecting you. You're not enjoying yourself at the party. You're questioning your relationships with people because you're wondering if they're accepting you or rejecting you, right? And your result is, I'm rejecting others and myself ahead of time. So you're not even giving them a chance, right? Because you're showing up at the party thinking the thought, I'm always being rejected. So you're rejecting yourself ahead of time and you're rejecting other people. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Really taking a look at your thoughts and seeing what they're creating for you is going to bring awareness around the thoughts so you can change them. So now let's go to the intentional model. Okay. You're still at the party. Now, this time I want to start in the result line. So, what result do I want to create at this party? Right. And what I really want is to show up as myself and enjoy the party. Okay. So, that is my goal. Okay. And if my result is that I want to show up as myself, the actions I need to take are socialize without worry about what other people are thinking. I need to, just kind of remind myself that I'm a funny person. Okay. And smile, right? These are little things that you can do to get the result that you want. Remind I am funny and smile. Smiling is contagious, and smiling opens up conversation to people because when you smile, people think you're nice and they want to come and talk to you, right? So I'm wanting to create this result, show up as myself. These are the actions I need to take. The biggest one is socialize without worry. Okay. And the feeling that this creates that I need to be in order to get this result is relaxed. So now I need to come up with a thought that can create this result for me. So a thought that is going to generate the feeling of relaxed, keep me in the place where I'm socializing without worry, would be the only person I need approval of is myself, right? So let's see. The only approval I need is from myself. Okay. So when I think the thought, the only approval I need is from myself, that's going to create this result as showing up as myself, right? Because if I'm not worried about what other people are thinking, if I'm not worried about if they're rejecting me or if they like me or if it's, they're just faking it or whatever, it's not going to matter because I'm the only one that needs to approve of myself, right? Now, it could be hard for you if you've always thought this thought, I am always being rejected, to go straight to this thought, the only approval I need is from myself. Okay, you can practice this thought, but here's the thing about the thought is you have to believe it in order for you to get the result that you want. Because you can tell this to yourself over and over again, but if you don't believe it, you're going to end up back in this model. Now, what there is here, what you can do is if you don't fully believe this, you can do bridging thoughts. All right, so let's get rid of some of this. Okay, so if you're here and you're trying to get here, but you don't necessarily believe that yet, try some bridge thoughts. Okay, it's got to be better than this, but if you can't get there, let's just make it better than this. So you could have the bridge thought, you could just think to yourself, I am funny. You could think to yourself, I'm not always being rejected. Not always being rejected. You could think to yourself, you could have thoughts of, I am enough. That may be a stretch for some of us too. It could be, it doesn't matter what other people think. I can't tell you what thoughts are going to get you where you want to be. But it's up to you how you want to get there and what thoughts you can believe to get there. Because really think about it, the thoughts are what create your feelings, actions, and results. So if you've got a thought that is creating a negative result for you, shift it. If you can't go straight to this thought that makes the result that you want, practice on bridge thoughts that will help get you there. Now, each bridge thought is going to be a model, right? a whole model. You take these all as thoughts that help you get to the place where you want to be. And I hope that makes sense. So, one of the other things about this is I know, we're fatherless daughters, so that's the work that we're going to be doing here, but you can use this in anything in your life to help bring awareness around your thoughts and your results that you're creating. Um, so, we talked about the thought download, emptying your mind. You could do a story about a situation at work or a situation at school or friends or an event like we did the event. You could write about, different struggles that you're having. Maybe it's your workload at work. Maybe you have a kid that's failing a grade and your mind is spinning about that. And you're creating this result that you don't want, right? So I know, one of one of my kids, he struggles with grades sometimes. So when he comes home with an F, we may fight about it and have an argument about it, which creates a result that I don't want. I don't want that. I don't want to have that result. So I have to go back and do a model on it myself to figure out what results I want to have. The result that I want to have is getting him to a place where he doesn't have enough. And then I go from the bottom up in the model to figure out what kind of thought I need to have and what the feeling is that's going to generate all the actions to get the result with the kid. Because the yelling, right? The unintentional model, the yelling at him about it didn't work. Okay. You can, write about a struggle, virtual learning. A lot of parents are going through that right now and they have a lot of thoughts about it, and it's hard and it's creating a result that you may not want. So let's try to switch how you're thinking about it and see if you can get a better result. So just remember, circumstances are facts proven in a court of law. Everyone would agree. The T is the one sentence in your mind. Okay. Make sure it's not a run on sentence. Make sure it's not, I, feel terrible most of the time, but sometimes I don't. Two different models. Don't do run on sentences. Don't do buts this. Okay. Break them up into two different sentences and do two different models on it. The feeling, one word description. Actions, or could be actions, inactions, and what's going on in your mind, right? And the results are what you're creating with your thoughts. So hopefully this makes sense. I don't know how long this is. I try to make them short, but um, go ahead and practice them. It's, if it seems weird or goofy or hard at first, just keep practicing them. You'll figure it out. Okay. All right. This is the theme of the month. We're going to get really good at models. Thank you guys. Good luck.